Hello, welcome to GP Podcast. You know, AI seems to be everywhere these days, like it just exploded onto the scene overnight. But what if I told you this wasn't the first time? That today's incredible boom was actually born from a really dramatic and kind of hidden history. One filled with brilliant dreams and, yeah, some pretty crushing failures.
So let's start at the very beginning. It all goes back to this really audacious idea from 1955. This one sentence is what launched the entire field of artificial intelligence. The core belief was simple, but wow, was it profound, that every feature of intelligence could be so precisely described that a machine could be made to copy it. Just think about that for a second.
And that idea, it absolutely ignited a firestorm of optimism. I mean, for these early pioneers, it wasn't even a question of if they could create a new kind of intelligence. It was just a matter of when. This was the dawn of AI, a period of just unbridled hope. You could call it a seemingly endless summer of possibilities.
Okay, so the ideas had been kind of percolating for a few years, but 1956, that was the real flashpoint. There was the summer workshop at Dartmouth College, and that's where the field officially got its name, artificial intelligence. And man, it just kicked off an era of these huge expectations. If you were one of those researchers, you really believed that true machine intelligence was right around the corner.
And the confidence they had, it was just staggering. I mean, listen to this from Herbert Simon, one of the pioneers. Back in 1965, he said, "Machines will be capable within 20 years of doing any work a man can do." And that wasn't some crazy fringe idea. No, that really captured the spirit of the time. They genuinely believed they would crack the code on human-level intelligence within their own generation.
But, well, you know how it goes. That initial summer of incredible optimism, it just couldn't last forever. The reality of how monumentally difficult this task actually was, it started to sink in. And that dream of a quick revolution, it gave way to a long, cold reality check.
This reality check actually has a name, the AI winter. And the term itself is pretty heavy, right? It's supposed to make you think of nuclear winter, a total collapse. And that's what these were. Periods where all the hype just evaporated, the funding dried up, and the whole concept of AI started to seem like a joke, a disappointment. So in the mid-70s, you have this huge collision between the grand promises and what was actually possible. See, the problem wasn't just a lack of computer power. The pioneers had totally underestimated how complex the simple things are for humans, like common sense. So some pretty big reports came out basically saying, hey, there's a huge gap here between the hype and the reality, and that led major funding agencies like DARPA in the US to just pull the plug, and that's what triggered the very first AI winter.
But the field didn't just die out. Nope, it adapted. In the 1980s, things started to thaw out a little bit. A new approach started to gain traction, a much more practical one. The goal wasn't to build this general, all-knowing intelligence anymore. Instead, the focus shifted to something much more specific, capturing the knowledge of a single human expert. And this led to something called expert systems. And these were the first truly successful form of commercial AI. They worked with these simple if-then rules to reason through problems. And they worked. One system, called XCON, saved a company an estimated $40 million. Suddenly, this wasn't just research anymore. By 1985, corporations were pouring over $1 billion into AI. It really looked like AI was back in a big way.
But these systems had a pretty big Achilles heel. It's what they called the knowledge bottleneck. Basically, getting all that expert knowledge out of a human's head and into the machine, it was just this incredibly slow, expensive, manual process. It just couldn't scale. So the boom pretty quickly went bust because you just couldn't build these things fast enough. And that led to a second, even longer AI winter. The market for the special computers that ran these systems, it collapsed. DARPA, once again, brutally cut AI funding. And by the 90s, the term AI itself became kind of toxic. A lot of researchers just stopped using it altogether. This winter, it was a really long one. And yet, in the depths of this really cold winter, something was about to happen. A landmark event that would capture the whole world's attention and, really, signal that the seasons were about to change.
The year is 1996. The world chess champion, the great Garry Kasparov, sits down to face a new challenger, IBM's supercomputer, Deep Blue. In that first match, humanity came out on top. Kasparov won.
But in the highly anticipated rematch, just 1 year later, the outcome was different.
For the first time in history, a reigning world chess champion had been defeated by a machine in a tournament match. Now, this was a hugely symbolic moment. I mean, this was a sign that AI was catching up, that it could defeat one of our greatest intellectual champions.
Now, Deep Blue's victory was like a single bright spark. But behind the scenes, a whole bunch of things were coming together that were about to end that long winter for good and lead to the AI spring that we're all living in right now.
So, you gotta ask, right? What changed? What were the key ingredients that finally allowed AI to start delivering on those promises from all those decades ago?
Well, it turns out it was a combination of three crucial things coming together. First, we got better algorithms, mainly by reviving an old idea called neural networks. Second, we suddenly had way more data. I'm talking about massive data sets like ImageNet to train these things on. And third, we finally had faster computers, thanks to the rise of powerful GPUs that were perfect for this kind of work.
And that combination, it just unlocked the current AI boom. In 2012, a deep learning network called AlexNet absolutely shattered all the records for image recognition. Then AI started mastering games that were way more complex than chess, like Go. And now, of course, we all have access to these incredibly powerful generative models like ChatGPT. It's led to this unprecedented level of investment and research and just interest from everyone.
And so here we are. The plot has come full circle. We're right back to that original, audacious dream from 1955, artificial general intelligence, an AI that can perform pretty much any cognitive task a human can. So after all the seasons of progress, all the ups and downs, you have to wonder, are we finally getting close? Thanks for joining me on this wild journey through the history of AI. I really hope you found it as fascinating as I do. If you liked the video, subscribe, leave a like, comment on what you liked most, and share the video.